A week has passed since the sale of GTA 5P to Majestic, and a lot has happened in that time. The closure of the raid, media pay cuts, media layoffs, the leaking of those salaries, who was earning how much, and in general, what has changed, and what the new management is doing with GTA Peter. Epin. Today, I'll tell you about all of this, and also tell you how and why the 5P collapsed. It's gonna be very interesting, guys. I highly recommend watching to the end. Many things will be very unexpected for you. So let's start with what I'd like to tell you, and lift the veil of secrecy about how everything was previously organized at GTA 5P, and show you a clear diagrammatic view of the management hierarchy. And using this diagram, we'll try to identify the problems that led to the project's sale to Majestic. So, the owners, co-founders, and founders of GTA 5P were Dima and Andre. For reasons I can only guess at but won't discuss since they're unconfirmed, there's only one founder left, and it's 100% Dima. This happened recently, quite a while ago, several years ago. What do I know about Dima? I know that before GTA 5P, he already had a project called Lucarpi on Samp. He also had a fairly successful project called RMP. Incidentally, I filmed there when I was just starting out on YouTube.
What's that ONA, or DNA hotel complex?
Diana, what's wrong?
Remember, like it was yesterday, I was getting paid 700 rubles per video back then. Below him is project manager Ilya Viktorovich, who set the direction of development and was responsible for virtually everything. After management, it's divided into areas, and Nikolai Nambafan and Viktor Pavlovich have always been in charge of media, advertising, and promotion. Below him was Daniil Sivokin, who was responsible on behalf of the media group on VKontaktai. It was primarily small media outlets. Recently, the Richmond server's lead administrator, Alan Taran or Nikita, was brought in to handle media. There were no other employees in that department. Vovava Buera, along with Ilya Viktorovich, was always in charge of development and was the main one. Of course, there were auxiliary developers. For example, I know of Daniil Choka. I've been told he's, quote, a giant and a very strong developer. There was also, I know, up here, where there was a Discord, all sorts of bots and admin stuff. And of course, there were other guys who made clothing models, car models, and the like. I don't know them. I don't know who they were specifically, but Buera and Viktorovich were always specifically responsible for game mods and updates. The next final major area is the community. I can single out a few people there. Karim Lalit was responsible for all server issues, player problems, the forum, and was the former project manager.
Oh, hi. Karim is here, and I'm the head of GTA 5PP, along with
Alexei Light, the guy responsible for all SMM, social media management, update videos, and so on. There's quite a large team here, so I'd like to highlight them. They're Oleg, Nikita, Alexander, and Grisha. Together, they managed all the social media, which, in my opinion, was never a problem. But obviously, these guys aren't management, so let's remove them. And so that's the setup we've come up with. Sure, there are also senior administrators, technical admins, and so on, but these guys are the actual management. Now, I'll tell you what happened before the collapse and what led to the sale of the project. We'll go from left to right. Daniil Savokin can't handle his job, and he's being fired. I won't go into details, but it was a real mess. He ignored the medical professionals for months. And if the media who worked with him through the VKontaktai group have any stories, please write them in the comments. Yeah. So Kolya is forced to take over all his media. And seeing Majestic hot on his heels and starting to overtake 5P in online traffic, developers Ilya and Vova intervene in the media movement and promotion, bringing Nikita into the fold. Their response was to acquire the Gucci family, the Blade Cartel, and C. This led to its own problems, and Nikita is accused of once planning to leave to work as a competitor. Some dirt also comes to light, and he is effectively removed as well. Then the new families promote their own updates, which they were promised, which Karim Lalit, in turn, is the main manager and developer of the new Papi mobile project. So of course, there's a ton of work. And as a result, we have a total overload of work for everyone. Just two PR managers who manage hundreds of bloggers and streamers. For example, there are about 250 of them on Kolchial. I specifically asked them about this. And imagine, everyone's pumping up their salary, threatening to quit, conflicts with admins, with other media, asking for payouts, admin support, help with videos. Buera helps and deals with all this. He takes these families under his wing, which, as I already said, lead to their own problems. Everyone also starts pumping up their salary against this backdrop, like, why are we listening to their updates, but we don't listen to the 5RP players? These guys also digging into all this and sorting it out, And at the same time, we have to make the promised updates, bugs, and fixes.
What the? I'm in a regular dumb shitty.
Events are on the horizon. Absolutely everything is tied to them. Every decision affects everything and everyone. The workload is growing, the problems are piling up. Majestic is breathing out. No one knows why, who's responsible, or who to hold accountable. A ton of problems when the promised auto rebalancing is over. Why is the new organization faction menu such crap? The event is exactly the same as it was 6 years ago. The F10 info needs to be updated. The starting quest too. Although, let's finish the new interface first. They're real Gucci, they say Laporte AFK North. Do something. Oh, by the way, you also promised GTA Work Op and partner Polk and lease for competitors. What are we gonna do? With the same 5-year-old, and in the end, Dima dumbs the project, sells it to Majestic, and rides off into the sunset without telling anyone. And everything I just said and gave as example is just the surface, what came to mind. But imagine what was going on underneath, something only they know. Okay, basically feel free to multiply their work by 10. Individually, they're huge workers, top specialists, and they live for the project 24/7. The problem was lack of diversification of workforce, as a team expansion and hiring. Basically, there was no involvement from the top because there was too much work and issues to resolve and too few people for such a huge project. Now, regarding what has changed, as an example of the new management coming from Majestic, I'll speak only for the media sphere since that's where I'm most familiar. First, a shared media channel was finally created on Discord, where all YouTubers and streamers have been verified and there are no extra people. The regulations, news and so on have been established. We now consider the following 2 people to be replacements: Kolya, Veya, Drun, Vlaskaver, Ligano, Komori, Agent, Grape, and Emin. And then there are PR assistants. For example, I was personally assigned to Dromvel. We have our own Telegram channel. In short, I think you get the gist of the problem of the top 5 from this example. Now let's look at who's left on GTA 5P from the old management team and who's left. Dematic sold everyone, and now, instead of Dima, GTA 5P is owned by 4 people: Rimas, Morales, Jengas, and Kortov. Now let's go left to right. Viti, according to my information, is dying. Bobby is questionable, but if he does, I'll be very happy because, as I said, everyone was passionate about the project. Development too, according to my information, hasn't changed. As I say, people are still there. And that's a good thing, because digging into someone else's work and code is incredibly difficult. It's just that now the owners are setting the direction, and they're passionate about their project, unlike before. And now the developers are solely focused on development, not management. Incidentally, new people are being hired for development, positions have opened up, and that's very good. But on the other hand, has left to work on new PAP.
Confident the project is in good hands, and the new phase of its development will preserve all the best features.
By the way, yes, New RP is a project of Dima, the former owner of GTA 5 RP. And that's it, the SM department is still in full force, which I'm also very happy about. Now, Bulwark, before we get into the most interesting stuff, salaries, money, layoffs, media comments, and so on, I'll wrap up the main news that really needs to be known and deserves attention. First, as you know, GTA 5 RP is a project running on the RageMP platform. RageMP wasn't part of the deal. Though, literally a few days after the deal, the platform announced it was shutting down. The reason was pressure from Rockstar. To put things into context, Rockstar is shutting everyone down because they want all servers to run on their FiveM platform. And you're probably thinking, well, that's cool, let's make it official with Rockstar on this platform. But the problem is that loot boxes and similar donation-based gimmicks are prohibited on FiveM, so running commercial servers there is simply unprofitable. There's no money, and where there's no money, there's no incentive to develop and invest, hire, or pay. Basically, the business model is collapsing. So what's going on with Rage? So the new owners weren't aware of this upcoming news before the purchase, but they were 100% aware of it and expected it as it's only natural. But the fact that it happened literally a day after the deal naturally raises questions. Is this a deal between the old owner and Rage? Boy, like, let me, buddy, spoil the business before the storm. Don't say anything yet, and so on. But in any case, everything will be fine. We were prepared for this. Majestic has been operating under these conditions for a long time on its own launcher, and GTA 5P will soon also operate on its own launcher. So absolutely, all projects will work.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'll start with the question that's been on everyone's minds. Yes, Rage is, and soon we won't have any more Rage. But that doesn't mean major projects will cease to exist. All major projects, including ours, naturally have a plan B and a few aces up their sleeves just for such an eventuality. So, gentlemen, download our launcher.
Second news, the new GTA 5P management has declared a global amnesty. The terms on your screens. The third news was late, but the project manager Ilya Viktorovich contacted the audience. There was nothing concrete there, other than some generalities. It was so thoroughly panned there, it was deserved that I explained it all before. Let me reiterate, RP5 has strong developers who created, well, literally the best optimization of all time. It's silly to deny that. The sale was due to cumulative issues. I'm saying all this even though I know they don't like me, to put it mildly, but overall it doesn't matter. So, we have very different areas of work. And the fourth bit of news, GTA 5P is planning a Cyber League. Oh, if you're a 2-level fan, start practicing and building stacks. Now on to the most interesting part, media salaries. Okay. Statements from certain individuals, squabbles and conflicts. Okay, Sean. First of all, I think it's clear to everyone that against the backdrop of fierce competition between GTA 5P and Majestic, everyone's salaries were simply astronomical. Bloggers and streamers were bought out and ZPs were dumped. But now the supply has remained the same, but demand has fallen sharply as there's no longer competition and the market is a monopoly. That's the opinion expressed by Remus, the new owner of the project. You must understand that the market that existed before May 22nd was unrealistic. People were getting paid as if they were being drawn on paper. Another owner, Morales, explained how everything will be assessed now, saying, there were examples of media bringing in 0 players and receiving hundreds of thousands in return. Now those who work hard, earn well, everything will be fair. But what I know for sure is that, unfortunately, the streamers are suffering the most right now, especially the pedophiles who are streaming and showing fake assets. I have examples and specific figures, of course, but they're not public and I won't leak them. But from the figures that have already been leaked, the families that the previous management bought out were earning $6 million a month at Gucci, $4 million at the cartels, and $2 million at the size. Now their new salaries are $500, $200, and $150. The difference is certainly noticeable. Yeah. This has led to a lot of angry posts. The cartels, for example, disbanded. Many streamers were simply fired, meaning their salaries were reduced to 0 and so on. With YouTubers, things went much more smoothly. Not being mean here in any way. Indeed, one of the big ones. As I had a good salary during this competition. I took advantage of this competition, used it for personal gain. I'm not an altruist, I'm not a volunteer. And I think this is completely normal.
I assure you that your path is very unenviable, if there is one at all.
Although, in their position, I don't know what there is to be happy about. After I repeat, it's a monopoly. Demand has fallen. The new, now general management has clearly stated, and don't think this won't affect anyone at Majestic. There are those who like to haggle and lie about how many offers they have from competitors' projects. And I also have information about who they're talking about, what stories there were. This makes all this gloating seem even funnier, but I hope everything will be alright. And honestly, I sincerely hope that this doesn't affect anyone. My position has always been that other people's incomes don't affect my own life. And I adhere to the principle that you shouldn't dig a hole for others because sooner or later you'll fall into it yourself. Nevertheless, conflicts do happen to me. He recently talked about me. He really poured dirt on me. Yoka, the ethos in your videos.
When you've squeezed out some cash and have 6 zeros in your salary, and in some cases maybe even 7, with a fixed monthly salary, releasing 1 video a month, you're the top of the food chain. How could anyone give about these crooked-toothed peasants who'll just gobble it up and like it anyway?
I was expecting him to respond in Telegram. First, I want to address you directly. It's incredibly unpleasant that you're using every dirty trick imaginable against me, manipulating and abolishing concepts with your own thoughts. You're framing your words and guesses as truth. You're telling me that a homo has climbed to the top of the food chain and he doesn't care about you simple, toothless Christians. Your guess is a blatant insult. If you want to get to the bottom of something specific and ask me a question, you can do without all this, but you're just spewing just to get to the bottom of it. If you want to listen, go there. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. It all ended with him posting back, implying that I'm air and he can destroy me, but I'm calm and without any aggression. I invite him to talk to me privately in a voicemail. Okay, if you want, we can do it publicly on stream. You can say whatever you want. But he refuses because he couldn't care less about me or anyone else. Oh well. Anyway, that's the current state of the media. And against this backdrop, I want to say something. The most important thing, my forecast for GTA 5P and the niche as a whole is the narrative of no competition, no growth, really correct? And will we repeat Sam's story? My answer is yes and no. Yes, because there really is no competition. That's a powerful driver of growth, but it's worth noting that other players remain in the market. And no, because while the situation with SAMP may seem similar at first glance, it's not entirely true, because no one in SAMP bought out a competitor for huge sums of money. And let's be pragmatic and realistic, you have to recoup your money. It's not a quick process, and to recoup it, you need an online presence. An online presence comes from updates and development. So, to sum it up, the current situation, a huge team has come in and taken FivePP under its wing, hiring new staff and expanding the development team is good for players, but bad for the media, especially streamers. Fun. I say this without any mockery or condescension, and I'm truly sorry. This standoff has made things worse for many, both in terms of content, and therefore, I'd like to support my colleagues in this difficult situation and say that firstly, I'm shocked by the hate surrounding FivePP, surrounding media outlets. I think many people know this from Teddy's example. Of course, I don't even dispute the hate from the Mahjong community given the content, but I absolutely don't understand the lack of support from our 5P community in India. And he wasn't the one selling it. It's not their fault that everything turned out this way. Without a word, he backed out and let everyone down, even some of the management.
The previous owner
Was so devoted to this project all this time. Not really a person, but he just quietly took it all and dumped it. What do you even understand when so many bloggers, so many media outlets are rooting for you and won't switch? But you just take it without warning anyone, even your closest employees, and dump it.
For him, our entire community was just a business. We weren't players, not people, just some banknotes, money. Well, let's rally around our new project, GTA 5 RP 2.0, around those who remain, the old management and the developers who toiled for 7 years. And I, in turn, will do the same.